فيما اتفقا عليه من حديث عائشة المؤمنين رضي الله عنها قالت. Hadith tonight collection of both Bukhari and Muslim related to us by Ummuna Aisha. And the theme of the significance of Masajid has maybe today, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday we'll start something new, inshallah ta'ala. This hadith is it's interesting because it points out something that maybe we don't necessarily think about when we think about Masajid, and you'll find it inshallah helpful. فقالت رضي الله عنها أمنا عائشة, she says, أصيب سعد يوم الخندق رماه رجل من قريش يدعى حبان ibn العرقة فرماه في الأكحل. That the Sa'd ibn Mu'adh رضي الله عنه, the leader of Al-Aws. Now Al-Aws and Khazraj are the two main tribes in Yathrib, and Khazraj is the bigger tribe, Aws is the smaller but more prestigious one. And Aws had one leader, and it was Sa'd ibn Mu'adh رضي الله عنه. He was a young man in his 20s, and he was amongst the very few people on the day of Khandaq, on the battle of the trench, during the battle of the trench, who was martyred or was hurt. And it was a random arrow that a man on the other side of the trench sent during the night, and it hit him fil akhal, which is one of the arteries or vessels, heavy vessels in the arm or in the neck, with difference of opinion, doesn't matter. He was hit, and it caused a problem for him. He died from this, radiallahu anhu warda, but he was hit. تقول فضرب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم خيمة في المسجد ليعوده من قريب. So the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام established for him inside his masjid a tent, a small khayma, where he would be taken care of medically. And because the masjid was closer to where the battlefield was than where Sa'd's house was at the end of Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ wanted to be able to visit him on a daily basis. He wanted to see him every day to see how he's doing. And he had a lady in there, and that's a whole different story. I'm not going to talk about that. But it was a sister who actually was the head of the medical staff in that khayma taking care of him. But that's a rant for another day. We'll just focus on the khayma in the masjid now. He established a khayma in the masjid. And the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ was maybe as big as our masjid, both sites without all of the clutter in the middle. Just as a space. So it wasn't that big. Initially, the masjid was his masjid ﷺ was just as big as this space that we're in here, not too different. And then he expanded it a little bit during his life, alayhi salatu wasalam, when Medina got bigger. So it wasn't that big, but he had established for him a small tent where he would be taken care of. يقول فلم يرعهم وفي المسجد خيمة من بني غفار حتى سال الدم إليهم فقالوا يا أهل الخيمة ما هذا الذي يأتينا من قبلكم فسال جرح سعد دما فمات فيها رضي الله عنه وارضاه. So what happened was that no one was bothered by this until the blood from Sayyidina Sa'd's wound started to run, and it ran through on the ground and under the tent until it entered another tent, which was the point of this hadith, that in the masjid was another tent. The Banu Ghifar, a tribe that came to defend Medina with the Prophet ﷺ, established for themselves in the masjid. Like the masjid didn't have one tent, it had two tents at least. I don't know, maybe there's a third tent that I don't know about it, but I know for sure there are two tents. So the blood from Sayyidina Sa'd's wound trickled on the ground and went into the other tent of Banu Ghifar. And they said, Ya Ahl al-Khayma, O the people of the other tent, Ma hadha alladhina ya'tina, what is this that's coming to us from you? Because you know, ma'lumkum, that dam is najis, you can't pray with that on it. The wound of Sayyidina Sa'd had opened in a very long story in the Sihah of how he died. This at the end, the battle had already ended by then, and his wound had opened, and it ran the blood, and he died radiallahu anhu during that. And of course, the Prophet ﷺ's love for Sayyidina Sa'd is well documented and known, and there's a lot. He remembered, just as an additional piece, the Prophet ﷺ remembered Sa'd for years after Sa'd passed away. For years he would talk about Sayyidina Sa'd. Like time and time again he would bring him up in a known hadith. What happened maybe, and this was the 5th year of Hijrah, this happened maybe 4 years later at the 9th year of Hijrah, when the Prophet ﷺ was gifted something from one of the kings of the land, because the Prophet ﷺ established all these treaties. So they sometimes would get, a guy would come with some gifts from their land, and they were all very lavish and very expensive, and they were given, he was given this burda ﷺ that was like just So he came in for salah alayhi salatu wasalam wearing this beautiful burda, and people were just staring at his his burda alayhi salatu wasalam. He's talking, no one's listening or looking at him. They're just staring at this extremely expensive, beautiful burda. He took it off, and people were still looking at it. فقال تعجبكم. You like this? قالوا نعم يا رسول الله, this is beautiful. فقال لمناديل سعد بن معاذ خير منها في الجنة. The handkerchief Sayyidina Mu'adh uses in the Jannah is better than Sayyidina Sa'd is better than Jannah. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Forget about you can talk, you can learn different things from this hadith, but the fact that he remembered him, alayhi salatu wasallam, he remembered Sayyidina Sa'd. But the concept that I want to share with you for the purpose of me narrating this hadith from the Sahihain is that he established a khayma in the masjid. Like, the masjid was a very versatile space. It was a space where a lot of things happened. And that's not why we built a tent outside, just so you don't think. But the concept is that the masjid, more than one thing happened. The masjid was not just a place where it wasn't, we churchified our masajid. I don't know if that's a word, but if it isn't, I just coined it right now. We churchified masajid. We tried to make them like churches or like libraries. We have to come in and shh. Everyone be quiet, sit down, don't move. I'm not saying that you should come in here and be loud and with the tabil and start making people's life difficult, but the concept of the masjid being a space for old people, and we have to stay quiet, and children should not come in, and people who come in have to be walking on eggshells all the time. That's not how masajid were. The Prophet ﷺ didn't even hesitate. He put a khayma, he put a specific tent for Sayyidina Sa'd to be taken care of in the masjid, and there was already another tent in the masjid for whatever purpose. I don't even know what the purpose of the tent of Banu Ghifar was. Like, I didn't find anywhere, you don't find really any good authentic evidence of why Banu Ghifar established another tent in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, but it was normal. The masjid was multi-purpose. It was a multi-purpose space where a lot of things happened, where people had the ability to come and learn and live and exist and be taken care of medically if needed. Be taken care of medically if needed. You understand how much of a center of the city the masjid has to be in the minds of people for it to be a space where you can turn it into a hospital when needed? Like, it's very difficult. Like, that's how important the masjid was. That it's a place, if you're going to make a space a hospital, then it's going to be the masjid. And I find that to be just something interesting, and we should try and start looking, don't bring your tent and camp in the masjid or start, but I want you to understand how significant these spaces were to them, how they treated them, how they saw that you could do almost anything that was in benefit of the community there when the need arose for them. And I think that's just very, very beautiful and worthy of contemplation. يروي الشيخان فيما اتفق عليه من حديث عائشة أم المؤمنين رضي الله عنها قالت أصيب سعد يوم الخندق رماه رجل من قريش يدعى حبان ابن العرقة فأصابه في الأكحل فضرب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خيمة في المسجد ليعوده من قريب فلم يرعهم وفي المسجد خيمة من بني غفار حتى سال الدم إليهم فقالوا يا أهل الخيمة ما هذا الذي يأتينا من قبلكم فكان قد سال جرح سعد دما ومات فيها رضي الله عنه. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا وقرة أعيننا محمد وعلى